I thought I was over dystopian YA, so it took me a while to pick up Red Rising despite the good things that I heard. In my first impressions live video, I talked about how I was digging the grittiness, but I wasn't so sold on some of the YA feel that I got from it. I did end up reading it, and we're gonna find out whether the YA feels were too much to handle or if Red Rising is next level. Everything that annoys me about YA was jam-packed into Red Rising's introduction. I don't really like when books use present tense, and even though I know that eventually I'll just get numb to it, it's jarring for me when a book uses it, and it's potentially a reason for me to not read it. I also really don't like the trope of this sheltered main character that's naive to the world around them. It's especially frustrating when it's very obvious to the reader. That was my biggest complaint with Maze Runner, that there was this reveal halfway through the book of, oh, there's something outside the maze, and it's like, oh. So I hate that, and Red Rising does have that in the beginning. Another thing that's kind of going along with that is when the character doesn't know that they are part of a rebellion, or that they don't know that a rebellion's going on. That was one of my biggest complaints about the Hunger Games, that we kind of know that's gonna happen from page 1 of book 1, and Katniss spends the entire second book not knowing about a rebellion that she is leading. The last one is the protagonist living in kind of a folksy conservative culture and then breaking out into the not so folksy conservative world. Having all of those things jam-packed into the front of the book, I was ready to DNF it, but when Darrow leaves home, he chooses to join the rebellion, and that changed everything for me. This was a turning point for me reading Red Rising, because when he makes the decision to join the rebellion, all of these tropes that had been building up just kind of dissolved away. As Darrow moves into this new society, he's not doing it as himself. He's infiltrating, pretending to be part of their society, pretending to be somebody else. For me, that felt fresh, a different take on some of the dystopian tropes, and I really enjoyed watching Darrow navigate this society based on this fake persona that he was portraying. From there, I really got into the voice. Darrow's voice is really engaging, and once the present tense kind of just got numbed out of me, I really enjoyed it, and it became one of my favorite things. And when Darrow enters the command school, the relationships and the politics got so interesting. I really liked his approach to the school. He would kind of take a step back and say, what am I supposed to be learning? So that he could then show what he was learning. I think I liked his approach to school because early on they talked about how he was really smart and stuff, and I hadn't felt like he earned that title of being smart. But as he was going through school, I felt like he earned that competency that we'd been told that he had. Probably my biggest praise for Red Rising is, excluding the very beginning of the story, it takes these tired tropes and just twists them over and over and over again in really interesting ways. In many ways, I felt like Red Rising was my hate letter to the YA dystopian genre, the book that I'd write to show YA how it's done. I did have a few issues. First, once Darrow gets to school, I got a little bit confused about the timing, and I'd get lost every once in a while. And it's possible I just missed some transitions or something, but there would be moments where, to me, it would feel like a day or two had passed max, and then somebody would say something and I would question, wait, has this been months? And I actually, even now that I've finished, I'm not sure how long they were at school. It kind of feels like it may have been 2-3 years, but it feels like a month or two. My second issue is with the very last page, and don't worry, no spoilers, but if you've read it, maybe you guys can help me understand what happened here. But so two characters are talking, Darrow and another character. They do something and say something, and right after, Darrow's narration says that everybody else in the room gasped at the impropriety. And I'm reading it, trying to figure out what was improper. I reread that page a couple of times to try to figure out why are people reacting to this? I thought that the entire group came to that place to do the exact thing that Darrow and this other character did. Here's the thing, it's tiny. It's a page long of an issue, but the thing is it's the last page, and nobody wants to end their experience with a book saying, huh? It was more the placement of that issue for me, that it happened to be like the last thing I read, that it even was an issue. Because otherwise I might say, you know what, maybe I just missed something and like I'll just let it go and keep reading, and I probably would forget that I was even confused about that. But just because it's the last thing, I'm finishing the book and I'm like, I kind of want to know if I need to reread this book in order to move on to the next one, because I'm worried that I don't understand their culture or something. But I think that I can probably just move on. Maybe you guys understood what was going on and you can clear it up for me in the comments. Let's jump into predictions. I'm basing these predictions on the first book of Red Rising to try to guess what's coming next. So if you haven't read the first Red Rising, some of these predictions either A, might not make any sense, or B, they might spoil something from Red Rising. And if you have Red Rising, they still might not make any sense. So whatever, here they are. Number 1, Darrow and Mustang are going to be betrothed. And I'm using the word betrothed. I don't really know how like this stuff works with the Golds. I feel like they have some kind of like, it kind of feels like royalty where you marry into a family in order to like build that family's like status. So I think there's going to be some kind of marrying or status upping between Darrow and Mustang. There's a couple reasons I think this. One, they just became close during Red Rising, and 2, Darrow is positioned now with her family. It just would make sense to continue that relationship. Number 2, Cassius is going to rise to like an anti-rebellion position, and I'm struggling to really express this one because I think that Cassius is going to stay as like a lower level antagonist throughout the series. I'm expecting in this second book that as Darrow rises, Cassius will rise, and they might not be equal, but that Cassius will pose some threat to the rebellion with the position that he gains. Number 3, Darius will kill Nero. He definitely has the motivation since Nero killed his wife, and he's also positioned to do it because he is going to be working with Nero. 4, Mustang will join the Sons of Ares. Mustang just seems like the type of person that would be sympathetic to the cause and over time shift towards the rebellion. Finally, I think that Ares, the leader of this rebellion, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't think he's any better than the current system that is already set up. Just based on what we've seen in this first book, how Darrow like completely ripped the system apart, I think that he's going to do that to both the current system and the rebellion. If Red Rising sounds like a book that you would like, especially if you like rebels taking down messed up societies, click this video for another book right up your alley. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next adventure.